Well, hello there. Welcome this evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Stefana Pecher, the Country Doc. Welcome to our latest edition of the New England Medical Cannabis Seminar and Support Group. And tonight we have two wonderful guests, Chef Thomas Hunold of the TwoTen Oyster Bar in North Kingstown, Rhode Island, and also our dear friend Ibn-Hashim Bakari of Harmless Health LLC. Both are here tonight to help us celebrate this holiday season. So welcome, guys.
Hey, thank you, Doc.
Take it away.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be back here again. We have done quite a few things over the last few months here in Connecticut, North Stony, Connecticut. And we're going to end the year off. Actually, 2018 was a great year for both of us from the cannabis standpoint, specifically with CBD. And so we're going to finish off 2008 with a couple of dishes as well as a couple of cocktails.
Nice.
So as you mentioned, we do have Chef Thomas here from TwoTen Oyster Bar and Grill in Rhode Island in South Kingstown. And Chef, what do you say to introducing us to the 4 courses or the 3 courses that we're doing today?
Thank you for inviting me. Stop there.
Well, thanks for coming. An honor.
Thank you for inviting me. So we're gonna give out 4 appetizers tonight, and they are CBD infused. And Ibn has a great product that he's going to blow your minds away with. And not only are we gonna do this here, but the cocktails are on our menu over at TwoTen Oyster Bar. We are going to be the first restaurant in Rhode Island to actually start infusing CBD meals. And it's so funny, on the way up here, we were just doing another an interview with Go Local Province. So that'll be coming out tomorrow as well. Kind of excited about that. But this is, do we have any allergens or anything like that? We have just
Nut
just
allergy,
gluten.
shellfish allergy.
Just the gluten, right? And you can cheat
Gluten,
just a
fish
little
food.
bit. Okay.
Shrimp.
Let me grab
Shrimp?
that door.
Yeah.
Shellfish or just shrimp?
Shrimp.
Okay.
Hello.
Just saw you
We have some more guests that are coming in, but for those of you that are here, I just recently arrived back from Michigan from some training and visiting family. And through that training, I found out a couple of things that I did not share with you guys. One, I found out that there's a different boiling point for CBD versus THC. And that boiling point is 160 degrees. So of course, in preparation for this meal tonight, I really needed to relay that message to Chef Thomas that, oh, by the way, I just found out that that the boiling point for CBD is 160 degrees. So we actually have to work in more of a simmering performance with CBD versus a 220 boiling point on THC. So big difference. So I felt that was very important to relay that message to Chef Thomas, but also to share that message with you and the audience out in the world, because as we know, more and more folks are getting interested into making their own medicine, dosing themselves with their own medicine. But the key still goes back to what I've said in our previous seminars, is knowing your dosage and then also having your products lab tested. So the products that we are going to be infusing the meals today will be have been lab tested, and those lab test results came back at a 98.8%. So we can basically say that this is 1,000 milligrams per gram that we will be introducing to you guys tonight. So thought I would at least share that with you. So with no further ado, we're going to let Chef Thomas get going with preparing our first dish. And I will then turn around and actually medicate it at the very end. And so what I'm asking you, Dr. Pecher, do you know your milligrams for CBD?
No idea.
Do you know your milligrams for CBD?
Like how much I take a day?
Not really.
Yeah.
No.
I don't have a clue.
Not a problem. The great thing about CBD is that we do not have to worry about that being a psychoactive effect. So with the CBD, you can kind of indulge with it more without getting that feeling like, oh my goodness, THC is in and I don't know where I'm doing, I don't know where I'm going, or you end up getting the opposite effect of what sativa will do is ramp you up, make you feel more alive, alert. Some folks say that they feel their heartbeat bouncing out of their chest. But CBD, you don't have to worry about any of those. So what we will probably do is we will probably, with 4 dishes, we will try to keep it down to a minimum of 50 milligrams for each one of you. So that'll roughly be around 12 milligrams per dish to get close to that 50. If not, we will just probably hover around the 40 milligram area. Sounds good?
Yeah, that's good.
And by all means, please ask questions. This is there's different scenario with me not having to do this and actually being able to interact and talk with you
Ibn,
guys.
I see that. That's very nice to see you on this end of it as well. That's great.
Well, I have been told by the producer of Bistro 420 that, Ibn, we need you to be more on the talking side and talking about the knowledge that I have. So I'm taking the advice, and so I'm trying to be more interactive in speaking and answering questions that you guys may have.
Great, great.
So,
I have a question about the lab. Is it regulated to do that now? Do you have to?
Right.
Is it required?
Say it again, Brenda, for the audience, into the microphone.
The lab that you had mentioned earlier, is that something that's regulated now? I mean, are you required to do that now?
I would say that on the THC side, it's definitely a requirement when you're talking about dispensary resale, and even more importantly, now that some states have passed laws that allow them to be rec states,
Yeah.
that yes, it is a requirement. With CBD, I would say it's a requirement only because under federal law, it has to be 99.3% eligible for it to not have any cerebral effect. And the product that you're actually getting is 99.6. So we're 0.3 above what the federal regulations are requiring.
Now, how long does that take when you're testing that stuff? Do you get like immediate results? Do you have to wait?
It depends, and also depends on your pocket.
Yeah.
Where because now a lot of labs in the area, they're overwhelmed. They're going to be more overwhelmed with the addition of other, especially with Massachusetts, with the rec side. You're going to have more and more stores that are going to be opening. So that means that more and more product is going to have to get tested. I have not worked in a lab. I've been to test labs, but I don't know what the time frame is. But I know that from working in the dispensary, that the turnaround has been anywhere between 24 to 48 hours.
Oh, wow. I didn't think it was that quick. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So as we continue, we are ready for Chef Thomas to kind of introduce.
So this is our first course. Actually, Ibn came up with this course. This is when we did our first event over in on Federal Hill, and he had a great friend make him a potato salad. And he said, "Hey, why don't we just make a potato salad, a crostini, and put some pulled pork on it and infuse it, and it's delicious. It's like comfort food." And this is from the restaurant. This is actually a pork shank. So this is the aso roku. This is my life right here. And like you said, he's got a great concept now where he's able to educate, the front of the house, where I'm in the back of the house, just, cooking, doing my thing. It's hard for him to do both, and it's hard for me to do both. So it's like that yin and that yang. And we've definitely come together, and we got it down pretty good.
That's great.
So I hope you guys are ready for some good food. Wait until you guys come into the restaurant down in Rhode Island. And actually see on a menu, like, oh wow, just like your gluten-free items, when every restaurant you go to, there's like an upcharge. You know what I mean? You have to pay like 20 cents or $3, whatever it is, for the pasta, for the bread. Same thing with the CBD, and we are going to be the first restaurant to do that, and I'm honored to be working with that gentleman right there. So right now I'm just getting a sear. Usually we get grill marks on at the restaurant, much higher. Fire, I love fire. Like, if you guys seen what I had to do today before I even came here, you're like, wow, he's still awake. Trust me. It gets busy in the restaurant, and I get pulled in probably about 30 different directions, and I'm able to function like that, like a machine. So
That's why he gets paid the big bucks for
Not
being
yet.
the executive chef.
one day. One day. That'll be good. A little bit longer. Make a little crunch. And you don't want no bread, right?
I do.
All right. This is a fresh baguette. This is a really good bread. But
There you go.
okay, and it's not going to bother you.
Maybe not.
All right. I don't want it to bother you. I can put it on endive if you like.
No, I'm gonna. You're all eating bread.
Okay.
aren't you?
She'll take the bread.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
You are most welcome. If you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to ask.
So one of the things that I would say is that as we're starting off, and as I mentioned, that we're going to try to, get you to that 5 milligram, a 50 milligram, I'm sorry. I just added 5 milligrams to you guys. Apple cider. So,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
so you have about 5 milligrams in your apple cider. Kind of helps clean your palate a little bit.
It's an interesting cups.
Yeah, well, holiday season rushing.
Welcome to 210 Oyster Bar.
Welcome, guys.
Chef,
Thank you.
Jessica.
cameraman.
Thomas.
Oh, hey, cheers, everyone. Hey, salud, salud, salud.
I didn't get you, Ibn.
I should take my head.
Troy. Yeah.
So this is the.
Yes, this is the CBD enhancer that was a special batch that was made for Harmless Health. Because after speaking with the supplier, it was like, Ibn, what is it that you're trying to achieve with your cooking demonstrations? And I said, well, the main focus that now that we've moved into making cocktails, and as I've showed you guys before, there is the CBD isolate. Well, we found out that CBD isolate, even though it is water soluble or liquid soluble, it still has a slight oil tint to it, so there's a slight separation. So obviously you could just shake it up and resolve that, but it was like, you know what, I'm a little anal, very particular. I would like something that's going to be much more soluble. So he was like, we got the right thing for you. So we now have a way to measure out from 5 to 10 milligrams per eye drop bottle of CBD to any cocktail and also to any meal. So kind of made it a little idiot proof, if you will.
It's exactly what a restaurant, a high volume restaurant needs. I'm at an extremely high volume restaurant. It's non-stop, all seasons, and something like that is key, especially when you need something on the fly. It's right there. It's measured out. I mean, we can do it in the back of the house, but I would need a whole nother staff for preparation just on that one product, that one cocktail, that one plate. And like you said, just idiot proof where, okay, do you want the upcharge on your menu, and do you want the CBD, and here's your milligrams, and okay, so yeah, definitely idiot proof.
Have you gotten a big response?
So
Adding the CBD to the menu?
So at first we were all hesitant, even the owner, but he's into the CBD.
Yeah.
So is everybody else, and he said just do it quietly, for 1 week, see what happens. And people kind of follow me in Rhode Island and Ibn as well to see what we're doing in the cannabis industry, and in Rhode Island with CBD only. What are you guys doing? Doing the CBD cocktails. Like, all right. And Ibn came in. He did a training course with my entire staff on how to deliver this, to talk to people, so they're not looking like a pusher. They're basically saying, oh wow, you can do this because it's medicine. And our bodies need it. Our bodies crave it. Just like if I was in the back of the house to make a turmeric oil, which helps with anti-inflammatory, why can't I make a hemp oil? But now I don't have to do that because we have a company doing it for us, and we can just infuse the food. So we started our first week, and we got some great feedback. And the past 2 weeks has been crazy. I was like, wow. And this is just in cocktails. And there is a limit on everybody's cocktails per visit, and we have it to exactly 50 milligrams. If you don't know your dosage, our server knows how to talk to you. Well, let's drop you down, give you 25. You know, we're going to be here forever. Come back next week. Do you know what I mean? Let us know how you feel. Did you really have an ache? And like, oh, did you feel better? And the response has been great because the owner has been getting emails and like, wow, I've had this, I've had that, and I woke up yesterday morning, I feel like $1 million. So it's great. That's medicine our bodies need.
It was my first training to train a staff at a restaurant on CBD. So I was very excited about it. And I also had the opportunity of having one of the suppliers, food suppliers that were there for a regular training anyway. And his introduction was that, hey, this is kind of the wave of the future. I have no idea what it is, anything about it, but we do have someone that is here to help with you understanding that. So for me, it was exciting. It was exciting for Chef Thomas because, you know, over the last 2 years, this is something that we've been looking forward to seeing and doing. And now it's like submitting invoices that is there's like cannabis was delivered legally to TwoTen Oyster Bar and Grill, and a payment was received, and it was like no issues, no problems. And the fact that the general public is being open to it, and I give a lot of credit to the media outlets that they're helping to bring a positive image to CBD. It's really helpful. It is really helpful, and I think that as more and more patients that are out there, because I myself am a patient and I am an avid user of CBD, so I see the benefits that it has and helps with me personally and my personal interactions with professionals in the medical field as well as patients who have received some benefits from it. It's just been great and phenomenal. And the fact that there has not been one complaint of a side effect has even been more so helpful.
That's awesome.
Should I talk louder too? Deeper?
No,
Good?
it's fine. I just need
It's
Alright.
for the TV audience.
Okay.
It's not for us so much as it is for the TV audience.
Okay. So this is what I'm going to hand out right now. Oh no, we can't hand this out. Ibn.
Yes.
The medicine we need.
No problem.
He said no problem.
One of the other things that we found in working across the state line in Rhode Island, because Rhode Island is similar to Connecticut, it's still a medical state, not a rec state. So for the purposes of, when we're working with THC, I've been on the premises as a patient to help with the administering the medicine. But because CBD, again, there's no real special licensing that you have to have it for distributing it, for consuming it. Chef Thomas and I have kind of had this agreement where I would handle the adding the medicine, he handles the cooking. But then it's like, well, he knows enough how to do it. So because he's going to be the one that's going to be responsible for handling this new product that's coming out, you can have your first shot at medicating.
All right. So now this is a
Are
new
you
product
supposed
that
to
came out.
shake it?
This I don't know. So it's a brand
Nope.
new product.
I
This is
actually
like-
have already
This is
just.
the future right here. So I'm gonna shake it anyways, just to say. I think
Yeah.
that's just a human nature. Yeah, well, let me make sure it's shaken up well. So each Doppler is how many milligrams?
So a full dropper would be 10 milligrams. A half dropper full would be 5 milligrams. The bottle is a 1 ounce bottle. It has 300 milligrams total. So if it's that would either be 30 servings at 10 or it would be 60 at 5. Good math, right? Hey, you got your math, doc. Like I said, they're making this so useful in the industry for it to be worked with that it's great that it's come along. So
you're gonna do 5 milligrams, so half a dropper.
No, I'm gonna do one whole one between 4 courses, which would give you 40 milligrams, correct?
and then you already have 5 milligrams with
With
your
it.
apple cider,
Got
so
you.
that would put us at 45.
Got it.
So, and I was just admiring the color. I haven't seen it like that because when I make the simple syrup, it's not that milky color. It's exactly what you had said. You can see that oil sitting on top of the simple
Exactly.
syrup, and you actually have to
Yes,
shake
yes.
it. Nice.
So you're gonna
So-
probably have to pull it twice
I see.
in order to get the 10.
And now I'm just going to infuse it, huh? Make sure you get it right in the meat and the bread. Make sure the bread soaks it all up. Now, Ibn, this is also tasteless and odorless, correct?
That is correct.
That's a big plus. Do they sell
Yeah.
them in larger
No.
bottles or?
Well, again, this was kind of like in a conversation on Friday, and Sunday I was receiving my my delivery of it prior to my departure from Michigan. So they've already have sampled and played with this. So this is now kind of like on the restaurant side, if you will, of it being used. So again, kind of like, the first restaurant in Rhode Island to offer, CBD cocktails and meals. Now we're kind of like with this newest product, because as you remember, I talked about, talked about the actual flower, then getting to the distillate oil, to getting to the isolate powder. Now we have arrived to the enhancer.
I'm gonna have to probably put this like in a souffle cup.
Yep.
You know what I mean? To like draw out more.
Draw more, that's fine. Because I don't know where that is.
So 2 full droppers per each thing.
No, it's not a full drop, but that's a half.
Half.
So the
Yeah,
full-
so he's
the
got to
full-
pull it twice
exactly,
to get to the 10.
To 10.
Got you, okay.
So.
All right.
That's why when I was doing
She
that's
was watching. I don't know if she was getting
No.
excited, but she was trying to grab a pillow.
and for all purposes, Doc,
Some of
I
us have to drive home.
no, and
Yeah.
and you bring and actually, Doc, what you do is but it's actually not a tease, because in actuality, if you were a consumer at a restaurant and you order a cocktail and you see now that, okay, yes, I ordered a CBD, but if there's someone that doesn't know what that is, they may think that the bartender is spiking someone's drink.
No.
Yes. Perception.
Yeah.
There's different perceptions out there.
Yeah.
So, again, I'm thinking like, all right, what would be the perception of what the bartender is going to look like when they're doing this versus where you normally would have like a squeeze bottle for your simple syrup that you would do, which currently is what's being used and done. So we may need to try to work on just the imaging, but also we're still trying to educate. This still is an educating process, and not everybody is going to look at this as it being an innocent piece. So far, how are you enjoying meal number 1?
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Well, I shouldn't even call it a meal. I should call it an appetizer.
But nobody's talking, so that means that's a good thing.
Yep.
Well, you haven't seen the lick plate method yet.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna just.
Yeah, go right ahead. And I actually brought another bottle just in case.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
Chris knows
Fabulous.
Italians.
I love playing with
Me
food
too.
and flavors. That's like my biggest thing. Love it.
And I have to give a shout out to Miss Wilda Gutierrez who prepared that potato salad to accompany this great meal that you're having. So as Thomas said, it was like taking something simple and comforting and making it more appealing. So thank you, Miss Gutierrez, for your contribution.
That's Facebook Live.
That's Facebook Live right there.
Delicious.
Delicious, right?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Man, right there.
Yeah, hell yeah.
First one. More.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
All right.
So far, so good. The bread's not bothering you.
It's got the perfect amount of crunch too.
Yeah, you're gonna have that. Like your meal or something you eat, you have to have salt, sweet, crunchy, savory. Then you're gonna have some kind of presentation. If you can
Right.
execute all of that and you're doing a good job and you can be very consistent, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
And add cannabis to it. Oh my god. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's grown from the ground. Why not add it? You know. So, I'm gonna go with the other one. Start with
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Actually, can I eat the rest of it? Can I have the rest?
Yes. Look at him.
He's asking napkins?
No, can I have the rest of yours? Or not?
Hey, we're not stingy. We're here to please.
All
Here you
right.
go.
Yeah.
So now your dosage is gonna be you're looking at
That just
55.
appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah.
We've done this a few
Wasn't on
times.
camera.
I don't know if you're watching over me or you want
No, it's real good.
Well, that's one thing that, with me and Chef Thomas, we really pride ourselves on that would be the general manager of TwoTen Oyster Bar.
He's been trying to call me. How you doing?
I think she's probably having a difficult time finding this place.
Oh, Andrew, Meg, right?
Yeah, that was Meg,
She's
yes.
coming?
No, Megan was coming. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
she's on her
actually-
way here.
Have a
So,
call-in show.
yeah, you know what, we're going to have to get a call-in show.
Do you need to call her?
No. I would hope that she would be able to find it. If not, I may have to step outside to guide her in. I don't have. Actually, I'm trying to think. I might have a reflective vest out in the vehicle to flag her down.
So the second dish, second appetizer, is more of a cold appetizer. I like to use different things for vessels. When it comes to appetizers, past hors d'oeuvres, whatever it is. This is endive. Endive is a nice buttery lettuce. It works very well. It has a nice crisp crunch to it, and it's kind of smooth. Like you get that butter. And it's a great vessel, so why not use it?
They actually had the pleasure of witnessing the endive on our last session last month. And again, that was the help of Chef Thomas that showed me how to work with the endive and how to use it as he said, it's a vessel. It actually almost looked like a paddle boat or a cruise ship going across, So, just again, I learned a lot from Chef Thomas, and I think we both kind of like cross-train with each other, because a number of folks have said, hey chef, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not a chef whatsoever, only because my feeling about the chef and the culinary arts is that they went to school, they put in the time and the effort. For me, this was just more of a hobby in my own personal kitchen and test kitchen. So I don't want to take anything away from the individuals in the industry whatsoever. However, Thomas is like, no, Ibn, you know your way in the kitchen, so please don't sell yourself short. But again, out of respect for those that it's their profession, I'd rather just be considered no title versus the title of a chef. But continue, Chef Thomas.
gave a salmon, probably about a 6-ounce piece of salmon, a nice hard sear in the saute unit. Finished it off in the oven so it cooks thoroughly. Cooled it down, and now I just mixed it with some goat cheese. Simplicity is best. I can sabotage a dish like nobody's business.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. But like if we go to some simple things, just some salt, pepper, a piece of fish, and cheese in a vessel, that's all you need. I'm telling you. Actually, I'm adding blueberries to it, so it's somewhat. I think goat cheese and blueberries go together very well, especially at this season. And then now you can add salmon to it. And it's nice.
None for me, please.
None? Okay,
She's allergic.
that's right. So we're gonna have to get her some more pork.
Hot crust. You guys make a good team.
Well, I figure, just to keep things rolling, and because this is a vessel, the CBD enhancer is going to hold in the vessel, no problem. I can't speak too much about your chin, but at least it will hold prior to arriving to your mouth.
And we do. We work very well together.
Yeah.
Even sometimes, like I try and take a break. I go back to Providence. I take like an hour-and-a-half break. I try to. And next thing you know, we're in the test kitchen, and we're just going off of each other, and we're pulling out things from the cupboard. I'm like, oh man, I have to get back to work.
Well, it's great, it's good to be working with someone, especially like an executive chef, because there's just so much knowledge and creativity that is brought to the table. So when we're in the test kitchen, because oftentimes what happens, I could be watching the Food Channel, and I can see something that's taking place, and I was like, ooh, I can make that, and then I run to my test kitchen and start preparing it. Or there's a conversation, or somebody gives a suggestion, and it spikes an interest, and I was like, well, let's go and see if it works. And so oftentimes I have things that's been shelved for like 5 years, 3 years, 2 years that I have played with, and it's like, you know what? It has a use later on.
I was gonna set mine down.
Oh, that's right. Would you like another pork one?
No, I'm good. But
Okay.
All right.
looks delicious.
Hi, there's our
Hello.
Megan, this is everybody.
That is really good.
The
combination is like
a lot of people, they'll think, oh man, it's fish, cheese, blueberries. They're like, no man, close your eyes and just let it play in your mouth. I'm telling you.
I was thinking like normally I like salmon and like cream cheese or
Well,
something.
like a gravlax with
Yeah.
on the bagel with the capers and the red
But just,
onion.
like, got,
but
like-
you need to evolve quickly. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, okay, that's we do that on a regular. What's something different? You
Yeah,
know what I
it
mean?
adds like
No.
a smokiness
I was gonna say, you're
or
one
something.
behind.
I don't know the right terminology.
I think it's the goat cheese. Goat cheese.
Yeah, the
probably-
goat cheese.
The goat cheese is one of my favorite cheeses. Megan,
Mm.
Thomas,
can you give this to Megan?
She said no.
is it dessert?
Wow.
What did you do though?
So the first course we did a crostini with potato salad and pulled pork on the top. This one is endive with goat cheese, blueberries, and salmon. The next one is going to be a seared scallop. And I would. That's okay. Seared scallop with a chorizo and chorizo. Let's say Portuguese chorizo broth and lobster. So we do that. And like I said, I like fire. I love
apple
filet.
cider.
Sure. Absolutely.
Goat cheese.
And like you said, a lot of people use cream cheese. They
Yeah.
use the cream cheese, the smoked salmon, put it on a bagel with capers and onions. But you know what I mean? Who needs all that carbs? Or if somebody has celiac disease and doesn't want,
Yeah, the
all that.
blueberry and the
And
goat cheese
endive.
is like a combination I would have never thought, but it was actually kind of better than like the
Yeah.
standard,
Great.
it was a really good twist. Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Really good.
How are you doing? CBD and THC.
This is
CBD.
this is CBD. Yes.
So now I'm just letting my oil heat up right there, and I have some scallops in there.
How long have you been cooking?
I mean, my first pizza dough when I was 14. So a little bit of time. Still got much more to learn.
Yeah.
So this is 5 milligrams of CBD. However, it's actually 10 since you've turned down some of our food. So we'll
Yeah, I bet you though, if I had a cheeseburger up here from McDonald's, or grilled cheese.
Chicken nuggets or grilled cheese.
Sorry.
Yep,
I should
would
have
be
thought.
good.
And the other reason why I'm at this place is because of her.
How's that?
She came and grabbed me from another restaurant. She was like, "I want you." I was like, "What?" Yeah, like basically, yeah. And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And she's like, "No, you're coming." I said, "I'll come look." And then I looked, and I was like, "Okay."
And how long you been at that restaurant?
This is my 3rd month.
Oh wow.
Any
This
takers?
is
Any
my
takers?
3rd
Any
month,
takers?
and lots of changes
Uh-huh.
came already since I've been there. Much needed. But yeah, I wasn't supposed to leave where I was at, but she was like, "No, you're coming." Okay,
And here you are.
here I am. A lot of people, they don't put pepper on their scallops. I salt and pepper everything that I put on a grill or saute.
Would you like a refresher?
I'm good right now. Thank you.
Scallops is next. You sure you don't want that pulled pork belly?
No, I don't want to.
Okay.
So now, right now, I'm looking for like a smoke point to get a nice sear. A lot of people overcook their scallops.
Mhm.
That drives me nuts.
I know. Koji.
See that? Okay.
How long are you supposed to do it?
It's just like,
About 3 minutes, right?
minutes, yeah.
Usually you don't have a hood vent, so I'm going to deglaze, so there might be some flambe. But inside the restaurant, it's much different. I have the hood vent, so I can crank that heat up and push that food out, and it comes out to a perfect sear. So you're looking about a 4-minute ticket time. Well, that's what it's supposed to be.
Now, our last session we actually had grilled scallops on the smokeless grill. So now we're going back to the traditional way, our scallops. I mean, scallops can be done based on taste of the individual, but as Thomas said, and being in New England, once you leave New England and you start asking for calamari, scallops, if you're not at a mid or high end restaurant, the food is going to either have 2 effects. It was either frozen or it was overcooked. Because once you get that chewy taste, those are the 2 suspects I'm looking at. Was it frozen or did you overcook it? And it's like, not to mean that, folks from the Northeast are snobs, but we like our food like how we like our food. Just like the South like their food like they do, New Englanders have like their seafood the way they like it. And so I have learned, again, a great deal from Chef Thomas, working with him. And this is just, great to see someone that is moving up, being one of the industry leaders in the kitchen that's working with cannabis. There's a lot of periodicals, a lot of written documents that saying that's a little difficult to try to really microdose. But we really have spent the last 2 years, and myself the last 10 years, really trying to perfect this, because this is going to be available and ready pretty much in most restaurants throughout New England and across the country, because now that they're seeing it, they're hearing about it, because we're helping folks to teach. We're not the greedy individuals that's looking to try to have the entire market. We're just here to try to continue to help educate and just continue to just move forward with this.
It's important to educate you know, because there's so many, you know, things out there that people think that CBD and HTC and all that stuff is horrible and stuff, but I mean, I think the educational part is huge.
That's the part that I'm running into now with like my servers. Like I have it, but they're nervous to promote it because they're nervous to get asked a question that they're not gonna know how to answer.
Right.
So that's another reason why, even myself, I
Yeah.
keep trying to come to things like this because I even need to learn more as the general manager.
Right, right.
as if they call me over, so.
Yeah.
That's the only issue that I'm running into is we have to educate people more.
Yep.
That's pretty much
Yeah.
where
And
I'm
it's
at.
an industry issue. I mean,
Yeah.
there's talks of cannabis, but then there's no talk about cannabis as far as like responsibility. I mean, most of the commercials from your liquor companies always say, you know, drink responsibly, you know. So the same thing is falling with cannabis. You know, as it's being talked about, it needs to be talked about in an educational manner so that people can grasp, you know, the whole concept behind it. Because, you know, our grandparents, you know, our parents have all gone through the whole notion that, you know, cannabis is evil, cannabis is a gateway drug, you know, there is no medicinal properties that come with this. If you look at all of the movies that have been made over the decades, you know, they make fun of like when a cop would bust a person in possession of a joint and the person says that, oh, I'm smoking this because I got cataracts. It's like, but it really is something that can help with reducing inflammation, which is causing that pressure on a person's eyes. So that's as we continue to have these seminars, and I thank you, Dr. Pecher, for being open-minded as a physician, because I know that you may not have come from, you know, medical school and this was something that was being talked about, or residency, you know. So I appreciate you being so open and looking at this from a holistic medicine. It's really all a part of your practice, you know. So thank you.
Thanks. Well, to your point, Ibn, you're absolutely right. We weren't taught this at all in medical school, and we really came to it through patients. Patients that actually, I had one patient in particular that nagged me for about 2 years before I opened my eyes and went up to the Providence Compassion Center and spent about 4 hours there with my team of PAs.
Mm-hmm.
And we realized that there really is something to this. And these patients started coming off of medications, coming off of blood pressure meds, diabetic meds, psych meds, all different things.
You gotta be able to
You say that my primary care physician from when I was a child, who I used to always, you know, talk about this and this is, so not to get too personal, but for a while there, they had me on, it was methadone for severe back pain, things like that. But I had weaned myself completely off of it by just smoking marijuana. And my doctor was like, no, you need to wean yourself down. We have to take you down. I'm like, I haven't taken it in 3 weeks. Like, I'm completely done with it. I have no desire. He was about to retire and was like, you're the first person I'm going to write a script for. So that's how I came about it.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, you know. It's amazing. Well, Ibn, thank you for helping educate, and it's so important for patients to get a visual and to also see that it's not as complicated as they might
Yes.
first think, you know. Both of you guys. Would you like to sit here?
Yeah, it hasn't been an easy journey with this, but it's been an exciting journey. I mean, just like any project, anything that's new, because let's face it, this is a new industry that is here, and it's coming fast.
Yes.
And so with our young generation that's coming up, it's really important that we start really giving them the right information about this, about this plant and showing them that it can be used and it can be used responsibly, especially when you're looking at trying to help with the condition that you are combating against. Ooh, the cameraman is falling asleep.
One more back there.
I got one more. No.
I can deliver it for you.
1 second, Doc.
I'll follow her with this.
Thank you.
Maybe just a knife and a fork.
So
See if you have
as
an
can
extra.
see, like almost a presentation. If on other plates and inside the restaurant, it's a nicer presentation. But the colors pop off, and be able to say, "Wow, look at this!" And it's infused with cannabis. But enjoy.
Lovely.
And like,
Typically, would you like have a plate full of scallops?
so usually in a restaurant, I do a seasonal vegetable risotto with 5 scallops on the top, and I put a beurre blanc, and I always accompany it with some kind of oil. If it's a chive oil or basil oil,
Avocado oil.
anything, to make it turn green, and it's like it just pops off the plate, and our bodies crave it and need it. It's good for us.
Yeah.
Why not? And I think it adds much flavor.
Oh yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
He's the first.
The searing looked perfect.
He's the first one. You should see in the restaurant. It's a lot. It's more exciting to watch, especially when you got like the flambe going on across the flames, and they're like.
I find myself similar to Chef Thomas that once you're cooking, you're not eating. You're just like I'm
We
not
taste.
interested at all.
We taste. You know what I mean? Anything that goes out from the window to the front of the house, everything has to be taste. Nice, right?
Fresh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like I said, a lot of people they overcook scallops, and they'll them keep cooking and cooking and cooking. Like, no, stop that bullshit. Stop. Yes, sorry. Sorry.
Hey, Chef Thomas.
He warned us.
So in each dish there is 10 milligrams of CBD. So at the end of the meal they're going to have about 45 milligrams because there was also 5 milligrams inside the apple cider. So salud. And the last course is right. Exactly. Exactly, man. I'm telling you.
Good.
I'm sorry. I'm not gonna lick it, but I had to sip
Came
it.
close.
I came close.
And now this last course, this is what we do at the restaurant. This represents TwoTen Oyster Bar and Grill. This is basically my heart, and not that I just started getting into it, I just started getting into it over there. I actually showed the people in the back, all of our cooks, the staff, what food is supposed to taste like and what it's supposed to look like. Now I can move to the Oyster Bar. And this is what we have right here. Some fresh oysters. I think these are some of the best oysters that Rhode Island is producing right now. Guaranteed, hands down. So if you guys are oyster lover, you'll be able to taste.
I don't think I've actually ever had oyster.
No? Oh my God.
Yeah, I've had clams and stuff.
All right, so this is you're in for a nice treat.
I like the shell.
Charred grilled.
Oh yeah,
Because I go to Louisiana all the time.
yeah. Down,
there,
they get the big
they do
ones.
yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking
They
about.
do the
They put it right on there with the butter. Oh, look at you.
All kind of sauce.
Where you from?
I'm from Rhode Island, but I live here in Connecticut. But I know about the oysters.
Island?
Providence.
Oh, you need to come to 210 Oyster Bar.
But I thought it was in Charleston. I thought it was right off Route 1. Yeah,
South
off of Route
Kingstown.
1,
South
right?
Kingstown. South Kingstown.
Yeah, that's where I was born. That's where I was originally born. That's where I was originally born, in South Kingston.
Is that right?
Down the country, yeah.
So you're talking about.
So these are.
And it's right on the road. It's on Route 1, right? When you go, I just recently saw it when I was going down to,
I don't know what kind of shells they are.
I was going down to Charlestown. And I was going down Route 1 because I always see it on Facebook, like they advertise a lot of stuff, and I see it and I'm like, where the hell is this place? They're always advertising. So one day on the way back, I saw it over on the left-hand side.
Yes, he
Shout out
does.
to Andrew.
Wow.
Yes.
I have to come eat there.
Yeah. So these are, like I said, probably some of the best oysters Rhode Island is producing right now, hands down. These are out of Wickford. It's called Fox Island. It's right under the bridge. And why I think these are the best. A lot of oysters, they have muck in them, or some shell fragment, and just kind of dirty and gritty. These are in a high current area where it's being flushed out. And how I can explain this is the first day of summer when you go jump into the water in Narragansett, and you get that crisp, that cool, and that salt right on your lips. It's like, oh wow, summertime is here. That's exactly what this oyster reminds me of. Now we've come up with a sugar instead of a mignonette or a horseradish or a lemon. A lot of people accompany these with. We've come up with a sugar to tone down the brininess, the saltiness, and it's great. You guys are in for a treat.
It was made by accident.
It was, and like I said, it was
Yes, it did.
in the test kitchen, just messing around.
Evan, did you do that?
And picked up
So
his
now-
Well, a rum cake was being made in the time of it, and then the next thing you know, Thomas happened to be visiting and was like, "Hey, what's that?" And I was like, "I don't know." And then, I was like, "I know it's sugar," and so I scraped it off the top and we let it dry out, and so
We got some.
we end up coming up with.
Yes, TwoTen Oyster Bar and Grill. Yeah, that's.
Oh, wow.
And it was a simple butter and sugar.
Oh, fucking can't go wrong.
No.
Sugar? Yeah, hello, I can do that. Absolutely.
Nice.
And of course, I brought it to 210 Oyster Bar, and actually, I gave it to Chef Thomas after the accident of it being made, and I already knew. I was like, "This is gonna go great with the oysters, Chef," but he never got to it. So of course, I arrived last week, and it was like, "Hey, what are you eating?" I was like, "Oh, you're gonna have to give me a couple of oysters." So I actually ended up having some Watch Hill oysters. And I
Another
was,
great product.
and I also, so I was like, "Hey, where is that crumble at? Where's that sugar crumble at?" And he was like, "Oh," I was like, "Have you had opportunity to do it?" He was like, "No, I haven't." So I was like, "Well, we're gonna do it right now." And sure enough, I was the first to have it, and he was the second to have it, and he was like, "Oh, Ibn, it's gritty." I was like, "Nope, wait for it." He was like, "Oh, what's that sweetness?" And I was like, "That's the crumble." And he was like, "Oh."
Hey, is that what we're gonna call it? The crumble?
So, and then you
The
just
can
put
of
it-
crumble.
You just layered it on there.
Yeah, we just yeah.
So also now, I think in a few weeks we're going to. I make a product. It's called Can of Pearls, just like caviar, and this is the gastronomy side of cooking, and I've come up with a way on how to make caviar, but I can infuse it with CBD in any flavor that you want. Whether it's soy, grapefruit, orange, Tabasco, whatever you want on top of your oyster. And what I usually do is you can use a gelatin, but also if you use a gelatin, a lot of people are vegetarians. So you need to come up with something better. Now I've found that agar from the sea is a seaweed, and it does the exact same thing. And I'll infuse the fluid or the liquid, whether it's the Tabasco, with the CBD, and let it heat up. But now that we know that our CBD can only be heated up to
160.
160 degrees, so I have to go a little bit slower next time I'm making them. And I get a glass with crushed ice, cold oil, let it sit for a minute so the oil turns really, really cold. I'll get a syringe and draw back on that liquid. Let it cool for about 2 minutes inside the syringe, and then I'll start dropping it into the cold oil. By the time it settles to the bottom, it became a pearl. But now we're actually going to purchase a machine that can do this and make 300 at a time. So I don't have to sit there and do the prep like we were talking about on how like this right here, this is time consuming. If to make this in the back of the house, you would have to have a prep team to do that one dish, to do it so many times for the end of the night. But now we've come up with something like that, just like the can of pearls. Now we get a machine, it just makes can of pearls.
That's amazing.
I actually made the suggestion that we actually just feed the female fish cannabis. Her eggs would then be infused,
That's a good
and
idea.
then now we don't have to worry about the
I love
prep
that.
work.
5. Everybody has shellfish?
I'm not having.
Oh, how many do we have? 5, right?
I'll try it.
All right.
I'll try to.
You try 2 of them?
No, well, no, one.
All right.
Should try, we'll have. What is it,
Yeah, I'll have-
Ethan?
It's just shrimp, I guess.
Yeah.
At least when it comes to oysters.
Yes?
Oh,
Yeah.
Especially the shot grill. You ain't had an oyster till you went to Louisiana and ate an oyster.
So on our menu
Thank you.
over at the restaurant,
No.
we have at least 9 different oysters, all local, and then 1 from the West Coast on a regular basis. You know what I mean? So we can educate our
Oh no,
guests.
you don't use a fork
Our
when
staff
it
can
comes
be
in. He's
educated.
already.
I can also be educated because there's so much to learn about oysters, and I'm glad to be over there to actually learn the process of oysters. But so far, these are the cleanest tasting oysters that are coming out of Rhode Island.
This
And they
Oyster
call it-
Farm will actually be at our establishment on January 7th.
That's right, yeah.
For Oyster Farm will be there shucking, the farmers will be there. So, yeah.
So what's the proper technique? Just
Man, just go in, man.
Just go in.
Yeah.
Just go
And
in.
And
You
then
don't-
close
you
your
don't
eye,
judge.
close your eye, just like that. So you're getting that brininess. You're getting that salt water, right? Listen, no, that sugar's coming, right?
I was thinking about what you said. It felt like being in the beach or something.
Yeah, just jumping into the water, and that to me right there speaks to Rhode Island. That first summer day, jumping into that cold Narragansett water, and like, oh wow, you get that sweet, that salty, that crisp, and
That
then
is
that just
delicious.
What do you think?
No, they want you to taste it.
Hey, listen, I already told you guys, I already had this in my mind before it even was made.
He's always
And so the second time around, it's even that much better. So please,
the way he was
eat it up.
Like,
Yeah.
I enjoy my food. I like to taste my food.
I'm telling you, close your eyes and just
I'm
like
just
let
thinking.
let your palate play.
okay, I'm
You know
just
what I
thinking
mean?
here.
I'll
A
hold
lot
the
of
plate for
people
you.
will look at a palate
Film
and they'll be
Nafisa.
turned off by a palate.
Film her with
Now that
that.
Oh yeah, good job.
Oh
There you
my
go.
God. I'm like,
Yeah, I can't see it.
Oh.
She got it off front.
Oh, dive right
Get
in
it.
there, girlfriend. Dive right in. Yeah, girl.
Bad.
Oh, see, you got your eyes closed.
Watch. Now the sugar comes through.
ooh.
Yeah, see, welcome to Rhode Island, in Connecticut.
And there's a clap.
That's different.
It's different. You have to be
That's the way to eat oyster.
Oh,
That after is like,
you're gonna see now. You can tell them in Louisiana they got
Oh, it's
competition.
everything. So that's a briny
Tasty
oyster,
that.
right? You're tasting Narragansett Bay because it's in a high current area, and then to add a sweet component to it at the end, it's like, oh wow. And like I said, in cannabis,
It's like the sweetness.
it's a wrap.
Yeah. Some things were just made to be together.
There you go.
look at Doc. She's a pro at it too. That's that Canadian side coming out.
I can get some good oysters from Canada.
Oh my God, Nafisa, you're so bad. That's
I
delicious.
like that. It is.
It's delicious.
And then that at the end, that sugar is like,
And
Yeah,
that's your cannabis sugar.
that turned out really
wow.
well.
Yes.
Really
So I'm
well.
glad you guys agree with me. My palate isn't off.
Right on.
No.
See, I like sugar in different kind of foods, like
Oh,
macaroni
absolutely.
salad, potato salad.
It's unexpectedly good.
Oh, Nafisa didn't even have that apple cider.
That's why I love to
Yeah.
play with food.
Apple cider.
cider too?
7 days a week, all year long.
Infused.
Well, we'll be
Really?
visiting you soon
Thank you.
up there at the 210 Oyster Bar and Grill.
You guys serve things other than seafood?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our
Yes.
menu is
They had
so
some
so
apple
diverse.
cider.
What I put out, even for this past week, I'm
Pulled
doing
pork,
a 1 pound
crostini with potato salad.
veal chop
Really?
with house
You
cut
can
truffle
use that
fries,
too?
a mushroom demi glaze, and that can also be CBD infused.
Yeah.
And what's pretty cool is that last week we had a pharmaceutical
Oh, so
group
it's stuff.
over at the restaurant, and I was able to explain to them about the CBD products, and they were buying our products,
Nice.
Ibn's products, inside the alcoholic beverages and inside our meals. So
Nice.
that's
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
yeah.
That's nice.
So everybody's taking a like to it, and you know the food is very diverse. I do a lot. All fresh pastas are done in house. Fresh sauces, everything is made from scratch. So
Wow.
absolutely, come on down.
Chef, did you bring any of your cards?
I did not.
I know.
I ran out. They keep taking them.
I think I have more of those.
But yes, that's pretty much it for our cooking presentation. By all means, you know, what did you guys think?
Very good.
Fabulous,
Yeah.
delicious. So could you tell us one more time, just because, so did I hear the number 220 degrees at the very
220
beginning?
degrees for THC.
For THC?
CBD is a boiling point is at 160.
So how do you compromise when you're trying to maximize both? I know we didn't do that here, but let's say, you know,
Now we have
Now this, he just showed me this, and now this is idiot proof where I don't have to be in the back of the house. I would have much to do, but to watch somebody to make sure that CBD product doesn't burn off at 170, to make sure it's exactly at 160 is tough. Never mind whatever else is on my plate for the day.
yeah.
This right here is going to be a lifesaver, and that right there is the future. It's cannabis.
like absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Wonderful.
What type of desserts do you have planned out?
Are you gonna
You know that's
Well, had there been more time, there would have been a dessert that would have accompanied tonight. But because of just time restraints and Christmas was yesterday, I'm surprised you even still are interested in dessert, considering food. But
we know that.
It was all good. So
well, I was actually going to show you something, because I had introduced, I had visited Mexico, and I attended this event in Mexico that was called Pitch Black, and it was a restaurant where you and your guests, you could not speak to each other while having your meal because you were in complete dark. Your servers were wearing black attire with black mask on, and you basically your responsibility was to taste the food, try to identify it, and then at the end you were given the menu of what you had.
Yeah.
So Chef Thomas and I actually did a replica of that on April 20th, which is 420. So we did a 420 in the dark in Providence, and it really turned out well. The folks did not know what they were eating. So getting to this shell, one of the meals that we had, it was like, they told us it was a dessert, but it was like a dessert, but it was like, what is this? It was like, so when we had it, it was like, oh, wasn't expecting that. So of course I was like, hey, Chef Thomas, we have to introduce this. We have to introduce this. So of course we served Oyster Rockefeller.
Yep.
Then we took the shells and I ran them through the dishwasher at 190 degrees like 3 times to sanitize them. And then he came up with a panna cotta and added it right to the shell. And my instructions to the guests was that, you know, you can't eat the whole thing or you'll lose a tooth.
You said don't bite down.
Yeah, don't bite down. That's what I said. Don't bite down. And it was like, well, how do you eat it? It was like, well, just pick it up. And so they picked it up, and to their surprise, they loved it. And what I did is, in a text, I sent everybody pictures of what their meals actually looked like before it came out, because they really couldn't see like their plate,
Yeah.
but they could at least still see each other and communicate. It's different, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to stay in a different realm because again, the industry, a lot more folks, a lot more restaurants are going to enter into the infusion. But what we're trying to do is do things different and not just be that commonality that is out there. So that's what's really going to help separate us from the rest of the pack by being able to, food is not meant to just be one way. I mean, we have so many different cultures here in Northeast that, our palates are a lot different than a lot of places in this country. So, that's why it's like we're trying to test with all different cultures, trying to do diverse cross-cultural foods. And so if you do come to 210 Oyster Bar, you will see in the spring that it's going to be a different menu. You're going to start seeing some different concepts that Chef Thomas is working on. And I'm just trying to help with the medicating side to make it a lot easier for the product to be more efficient, people still enjoying the food. And so I really appreciate you guys kind of being our guinea pigs.
All around the world at TwoTen with that food, right?
Absolutely.
We have sushi, chicken parm.
Yeah, I go everywhere. We have fresh. We do everything. And like I said, diversity is key.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that's a pretty cool concept. When we did that event together on Federal Hill, I had gone to New York, and I worked with Hell's Kitchen, and I actually did a rooftop dinner at House 39, and I blindfolded everybody with the blindfold. And what that does is it takes that cell phone away. A lot of people, if I was to sit down and say it's just you and I, whatever that intimacy is, whatever it's just a friend, hey, how was your week? That's what's missing with food. Because we're hungry, we're trying to fill a void. So we're not even paying attention to what the hell we eat. We're just like, oh, okay, now I'm full. But if you take that away, hey, how was your week? Put a blindfold on, you're actually tasting real food that you've never tasted before.
Right.
And I did a 5-course with Barrett Bear from Hell's Kitchen, and you can just taste the food. That's such a distraction, I think. And now, if you add cannabis to it, man, next thing you know, you're talking to people that you would never be talking to. You're sitting in a room with people from all different walks of life. It's like, oh, you take the blindfold. Oh wow, that was a fucking meatball. When's the last time that you had one? I don't know. It's frozen, I think. No, it's a real meatball. You know what I mean? So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But thank you guys for having us.
Thank you very much. Wonderful job, everybody. Wonderful. Thank you, Chef Thomas Ibn.
Thank you.
Oh,
Very
thank you.
nice. All right, well, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year upcoming to everyone out there. Thanks for joining us.
Happy Hanukkah. And also, Happy Kwanzaa.
All right.